when the motivation's for each other, it doesn't matter who you play, right? It's about not wanting to let your teammates down.
I think we got a pretty good team. We've got a very talented team, also a team that plays well together.
Coaches, players, players, coaches, players, players, coaches, coaches.
We get to go and play to go to the Super Bowl next week in our house. Great job.
You looked at the beginning of the year, you thought Philly would be the last team right here, and that's the way it's ended up.
First game of Conference Championship Sunday.
It's going to be cold and violent, and it's going to be a blast.
The San Francisco train chugs east on a 12-game winning streak. No team in the NFL hotter.
The game is over!
It's pretty cool to see the clock at 0, and then you see like the Niners over the Cowboys. That's pretty sweet.
49ers in Philadelphia.
Going to get a good team in a tough environment, and sometimes it's fun to go on the road.
Ready? Come on.
Fly Eagles fly, flying in very high, embarrassed their arch enemy in front of their adoring fans.
Yeah, the guys balled out. We played really good.
Settled their nerves too. What shoulder injury.
He was outstanding. He was at full strength. And he is healthy.
Eagles in their 8th NFC Conference Championship game in the Super Bowl era. The 49ers, their 18th trip to the semis.
We've been here before, and it's very hard to get here.
Their number 1 rated defense now testing itself versus the most diverse offense in the game. An offense fueled by its run game, which sets up a serious heavyweight bout.
We've got one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league.
San Francisco number 1 against the run in 2022.
Once you get this far, everything just cranks up a notch.
Are they ready for this jelly, though? The 49ers saw, along with everyone else, they're taking on the Jalen Hurts that had everyone chanting those 3 letters at him by mid-season.
I truly never put a limit on myself, and I never put a limit on what this team can do, so there's always more out there for us to get.
He's like Iverson. Was Iverson a shooting guard or a point? Who was he? Shooting. Who's our best point guard ever? Who? It was like Mo Cheeks out there.
Hurts' dual threat abilities on full display last week.
Jalen always is going to help the running game big time because of what he can do and the threat that he poses.
34 rushing yards, trip to Bob Rosstown.
Hurts is back. He's going to go with the draw. He's going to run. He's going to score. Jalen Hurts. He's healthy.
Rush yards, limiting those at the top of the to-do list for the 49ers defense. It's where it all starts with Philadelphia's offense.
Running the ball in the playoffs is a huge thing.
We'll keep reminding everyone of the 3-23 split the Eagles rolled in 2022. 23rd in pass attempts, 3rd in rush attempts. Last week's dominating win, driven by 44 handoffs, 268 rush yards, 6.1 yards per carry, 3 trips to the paint.
Some of us thought this would be a close game, but so far it has been total domination.
San Francisco's defense won't get any breathers along the ground. It's a relentless attack. There's Hurts to contend with.
Man, we all gonna eat. It may be in the same drive. We all may get some happen.
Kenneth Gainwell was the big guy last week. 112 yards, 9.3 yards per run. TD.
He's across the 25, 20, 15, 10-foot. Touchdown! Kenneth Gainwell!
Miles Sanders, normally the big man on campus.
Miles, that's a great job. Excellent job. Love it.
Versus the G-Man, 90 yards, 5.3 a carry.
Gives it off again to Sanders, who sweeps, has another first down, and is spun down at midfield.
And the Ringo of the bunch, Boston Scott, 32 yards, 5.3 a run, and a touchdown.
He's powerful, he's low to the ground, and he has the moves to get the ball into the end zone.
Being Ringo, far from a bad thing, trust me. Brings us to the first of many big-time matchups. The 49ers, no 100-yard games allowed to anyone. Lowest yards per carry allowed to the running back position.
I'm already knowing. Fact.
Held Zeke, a 3.8-yard per carry dude, to 2.6 last week. Tony Pollard, a 5.2 guy, to 3.7.
Elliott. Absolutely nowhere. Nick Bosa.
Now, the 49ers have only faced 2 teams with a similar style to Philadelphia's, and I say that loosely.
We played good football. We really have. We played good football to this date. But we know that we can keep getting better.
The Bears in week 1 in a mud pit, so whatever. And the Atlanta Falcons on the back of 2 different running backs having good days, and a dual threat QB getting them on the ground as well, which set up Marcus Mariota for a 144-plus rating passing day against San Francisco, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
Mariota keeps. He's got the corner. Touchdown, Atlanta.
You know who didn't play in that loss for San Francisco? Joey Bosa, or Nick Bosa.
I played my heart out tonight, and I think I did a good job.
How does he come into play against Hurts?
We know who we are. We know who we are, and just want to go out there and play our best ball.
Well, we at least can say they played each other last year. San Francisco won 17-11. Bosa tracked Hurts down twice.
Nick Bosa with a strip sack.
Bosa can attack either side, but you'd expect him to go after left tackle more often in this game. Right tackle Lane Johnson didn't allow a sack in 2022. That's a very low total. Jordan Mailata gave up 6. He's not a bad left tackle by any means, but 6 is more than 0.
He is going to start to run. He fumbles the football, but the Eagles recover. Getting it this time is Mailata.
And Colleen Wolfe, a Philly girl and second in correct picks on our panel, just texted me. That San Francisco-Philadelphia game you just mentioned was played in 2020. Who gives a? Schitt's Creek is a funny show.
Hey now.
True, that game in the arc of Hurts' short career almost feels like it took place in college. Hurts' latest playoff outing very much in line with how he looked all this season.
As you climb that mountain, it gets harder. It gets more treacherous as you get to the top.
Didn't have a ton of yards, doesn't always need them. 2 touchdowns, no picks, a rating over 110.
It was good. It's a good win.
He is going deep, looking for Devontae Smith, who has it all the way down at the 35-yard line.
We got it done.
Tight end Dallas Goedert caught all 5 of his targets versus New York.
He is a big man. I wouldn't want to tackle him.
58 yards, a TD. He had a great year.
Hurts will look to throw. He's got Goddard with a one-handed catch. Dallas Goedert in. Touchdown, Philadelphia. What a catch.
Devontae Smith, 6 catches, 61 yards, and a score. Also a great season.
He wants Devontae Smith, who makes the catch.
What a throw, what a catch.
Hey, let's keep this thing going, man.
A.J. Brown comes in quiet, just 3 catches, 22 yards in the divisional round. 2022 history book says he puts up 60-plus this week. The 2 times he had dud games this season, he followed them with at least that.
Do it again, AJ.
You get it. Had a WR1 year because he's a WR1 cat.
He is floating it deep for A.J. Brown, who has it.
49ers don't come off a game handling the opponent's WR1 well. CeeDee Lamb pretty much kept the Cowboys in that game last week. 10 catches, 117 yards.
Prescott loaded up. Has a man. It's Lamb. He has got it. Oh, what a catch.
The other side of the Lamb coin, one of San Francisco's 2 INTs versus Dak Prescott, was on a throw to Lamb. They held him to a 71.6 rating on his 13 targets, held Prescott to 206 yards, 5.6 yards per attempt, a rating under 65.
Prescott, it is picked off by Fred Warner. Warner's got it. Lamb chases him down in a second interception today for the 49ers.
Nothing odd about that showing by the 49ers secondary. This week we get Devontae and AJ versus San Francisco cornerbacks Trevarius Ward and Diamador Lenore. Lenore comes in hot, back-to-back INT games in the postseason.
Gonna throw out left, intercepted. Diamador Lenore. Dak Prescott just threw him the ball.
Ward was their best cornerback in 2022, took on plenty of elite wideouts, finished with a sub-80 rating, so he can make things tough on the Eagles stars.
Throw out left and Trevarius Ward all over DK Metcalf. Great coverage there.
As for Goddard,
Dallas, be ready.
he faced a team that ranked low versus tight ends in rating allowed last week, had a good game and scored. Niners, also a team that ranked low in rating, and they gave up a TD to Dalton Schultz.
Prescott rolling, throwing, Schultz in. again. Touchdown, Dallas.
To be fair, San Francisco held Schultz to 5 catches on 10 targets, only 27 yards. Hold Dallas to that, again, but not really, and they'd be happy.
It is juggled and dropped by Dalton Schultz. Great coverage there by Timo Lenore.
The 49ers' defensive showing last week fit their 2022 body of work. Fewest points per game, yards per game, etc.
Hey, I need more.
But the Cowboys' win was one of the rare times during their quad-streaking run that San Francisco's defense has had pressure to keep the other team off the scoreboard. During their 12-game win streak, no team has had a higher point differential. Brock Purdy and the offense have taken off most games.
Touchdown, IU. Oh my goodness, it's 27-0.
Then came last week, a tight game versus an elite pass rush. Purdy's first game without a TD pass, first game with a rating under 90, only 214 yards.
By no means was anything perfect for the whole offense and for the whole team, but it seemed like playoff football in that game.
Keeping it in perspective, no mistakes, he battled. If Aaron or TB12 had the exact game, we'd be hailing them for all their grit.
Purdy going to play action throw, and it is caught by George Kittle, a big gain.
Kittle split them both perfectly, a dime from Purdy.
The Niners offense doesn't tend to start with Brock anyway.
Running the ball efficiently, that's always a good thing for your offense.
San Francisco's Bulls like the Eagles. A nice 9-26 split for them in 2022. The CMC Music Factory scored last week. No need to cover his resume right now.
Hand off McCaffrey. Touchdown! San Francisco!
CMC detonates.
McCaffrey splits time with Elijah Mitchell. Neither guy cracked the 4-yard per carry barrier. Don't expect them to get used any less, though. Not only are both guys legit, Philadelphia didn't play running backs well in 2022. Didn't play Saquon Barkley great last week. 6.8 yards per carry allowed.
It's Barkley across the 40, the 50, the 40, and he's tripped up at the 40-yard line. Marcus Epps just saved the touchdown.
They also gave up 5.8 yards per run to Matt Breida. Very few of those runs really had any major impact on the game or the flow of it. Eagles' rush defense might be the weak link in their D, but it only matters if San Francisco isn't behind right away and they can use it on their terms. If Philadelphia gets up early and forces San Francisco to pass more than it wants to keep up, it plays into the Eagles' hands, more specifically into the hands of its pass rushers.
Here comes the rush. They've got him again, Reddick! It's Hargrave! It's Hargrave this time! This defense is roaring!
Eagles pass rush in 2022, unrivaled, 5 sacks, 8 QB hits last week. Josh Sweat, a forced fumble, a sack and a half versus New York, 11 in 2022.
Look out, bang from right, the backside there with Josh Sweat knocking it out.
Fletcher Cox got home once versus DJ, 7 times on the year.
Pressured by Cox, sacked by Fletcher Cox.
Brandon Graham planted Jones once, 11 for the season.
Brandon Graham has himself a quarterback.
11 sack man Javon Hargrave. Last week, the new addition Ralph of the sack quintet didn't hardly get mentioned because no QB takedowns. Poor Ralph. The 5th member and the headliner of the group, the Bobby, Hassan Reddick, 1.5 of those bags versus New York, 16 for the season.
Jones is well protected, but the coverage is tight and he's drilled. Reddick got there again.
Reddick will face off with right tackle Mike McGlinchey most snaps, just like Mailata. Not a bad tackle, but gave up 6 sacks as well.
Came inside of McGlinchey, the right tackle, and split the right guard and right tackle for a sack.
Purdy got gobbled up 2 times by Dallas, but it's important to note.
For me, it's like, man, I got to do my part in this team, for this team, and everyone else is going to do their part. That's where trust comes into play.
Purdy has taken 3+ sacks 3 times, no losses, and his rating in a game where he took 4, 141.2.
Brock Purdy will dump it off to McCaffrey. He's headed for the end zone, and Christian McCaffrey has a 49er touchdown.
Putting up a big game with Philadelphia heat on you and Philadelphia DBs, a different kind of challenge, though.
When so much is on the line, you know everyone's going to be playing their best football. Every drive and every moment matters.
Daniel Jones had looked pretty good as of late, tossing the old pigskin against what some might call second-rate secondaries. Philadelphia's group Seriously, call Kenny Loggins.
You out here to go get it, man. Right.
They're one of the year's best, and they showed why in the divisional round.
Jones delivers incomplete, almost picked by Blankenship, but it's a turnover on down.
Sterling A, genius. Eagles have given up over 239 passing yards once this season. Once! Green's cornerback trio sets its sights on Jawan Jennings, slot guy. His good days are like 40-plus yards. Brandon Ayuk, 8 touchdowns in 2022, about 60 receiving yards per game. And Deebo Samuel, he's the potential game breaker, of course. None of those guys did anything significant versus Dallas. Samuel has been pretty quiet most games lately, too. Under 60 yards receiving in 8 of his last 9.
Samuel. He's in trouble and he's taken down by Lawrence.
George Kittle, straight off the set of Trailer Park Boys to save the game with that crazy catch last week, 95-yard night.
Odin up over the middle. Oh, what a catch by Kittle. Are you kidding?
Kittle's going to have to work this week. Only 4 teams with a lower rating allowed to tight ends than Philadelphia's in 2022.
Dak Prescott wants to drop the ball to the tight end, and Sweat takes it away and takes it in for a touchdown.
Kicking games, Philadelphia's Jake Elliott got lots of practice on one-pointers last week, 5 for 5, hit his 1 field goal. He hit 5 of 6 from 50-plus, so they trust him. San Francisco's Robbie Gould comes in off another solid Gould outing, 1 for 1 on extra points, 4 for 4 on field goal tries, including a 50-yarder.
Good as gold for Robbie Gould. 28 for 28 on field goals in his postseason career.
Niners better hope these Eagles aren't feeling like Dennis, because if they haven't begun to peak when they do peak, they'll know it, because they could peak so hard everybody in Philadelphia could feel it this week. The Niners looking to prevent that and make it to the final dance for the 8th time.
It's all about one game right now. One game, and that's in Philly.
Both teams were just Super Bowl participants. Only one gets to go to Arizona. You tell the world who it's going to be in the comments section. We are almost to the finish line.
Let it go 3. 1, 2, 3. Fly, fly. Let's go.